Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome to a live stream, which I'm very excited about. I'm actually available, not traveling to Europe. Had a great time in Europe with a meetup for Space Creator Day in Germany, and then visited two other rocket companies. We'll be making videos about them, so you'll have to stay tuned for those. Hopefully you guys, all of you, have checked out the video that I just released on Thursday. Why don't they just launch rockets from mountains and or from the equator? Really enjoy that video. It has some awesome animations. Hope you guys check that one out. Say if you have. If you say yes, I have, and even let me know if you're naughty and you have not watched it yet. Let me know in the comments. But I hope you guys have watched and enjoyed that video because it took a long time to make, and I think it has the best animations we've ever done, and that's especially thanks to Casper Stanley and Spencer. So the two guys just absolutely knocked it out of the park. And I'm really happy with how this video turned out. So, cool. Lots of people. I love that. Well, you know what we're going to do now because we're still waiting for the live stream to come in. So, we're going to do something because I know a lot of people are wondering, what launch is this? What rocket is this? Where is this going? What's it doing? What is happening? Who am I? To answer all of those questions, you can go to a little website called everydayastronaut.com. And you'll see this website where you can click on upcoming launches and you'll see a list of upcoming launches. And guess what? I see two really exciting launches, specifically the one we're doing right now, which is Transporter 9. I love these missions because they're always return to launch site, which is super fun. And also we have, look what else is coming up. Starship Super Heavy integrated flight test. Yeah, so far we were, it's the most confirmed it's really felt in a long time, where SpaceX actually said no earlier than November 17th, which would be this upcoming Friday. Pretty awesome. Pretty excited about that. Obviously, I will be in Texas. Our teams have been working literally, when I say nonstop since IFT1, I mean literally nonstop with insane amount of upgrades, and it is going to be amazing. We're so excited to have proper 4K production for you guys so you can watch this historic launch in the 4K glory that it deserves to be watched in. At least that's my opinion, which is why we've invested my entire life savings into making that studio good. And we've done a ton to make it like redundant, because last time we lost like so many cameras because of the debris, and all of our connections just got totally destroyed because of the huge debris cloud, that we didn't have many options by the time it came to actually cutting the launch. We have tons of options now, and lots of backups. So I'm very happy. We've been, the team has been knocking it out of the park. So that's Ryan Chalinsky, Andrew Keating, Mary Liz Bender. They've been just absolutely, and tons of other people like Ben Steinman, just people working behind the scenes, Andrew Taylor, Colin. I mean, just amazing. Okay, anyway, we need to talk about what we're going to see here in just a few minutes. We're already, 22 minutes from liftoff of SpaceX's Falcon 9, and that's going to be taking off today at 10:49 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which would be 18:49 UTC, or again, just look at the countdown clock right over there. 22 minutes from now. The mission name is Transporter 9. This is the 9th SpaceX dedicated small satellite rideshare mission. The rocket that's launched, or the launch provider for this, of course, is SpaceX. SpaceX is the UPS truck. It's the FedEx truck that's going to be taking these satellites, these payloads, into orbit. That is the job of SpaceX. The customer is many. We're having this a little bit of a little debate here in our Discord channel, because it's 90 deployments, but there's like 113 spacecraft, because some of the deployments are on a separate tug that will help get certain payloads into very specific orbits, which is always really cool. I'm a big fan of that idea, almost like launching something into orbit and then having all these other spacecraft help deploy payloads into very specific orbits. Just makes a ton of sense to me. So the rocket is Falcon 9. It's a Block 5, of course. That's all we see fly these days. And this one is B-1071. It's the 12th flight of it already. 1071 is already flown 12 times. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. It's just about a 60-day turnaround. Not the fastest by any means, but good enough. And this is going to be taking off from SLIC 4E, or Space Launch Complex 4E, at Vandenberg Space Force Base over there in California. Now, of course, when it launches from California, that means it's going to fly more or less south. California allows for polar and retrograde orbits, sun-synchronous orbits, things like that. But you don't fly east from California. You only fly south, and that allows you to get into north and south, polar orbits, where you're more or less flying over the north and the south pole. Yeah, the payload mass for this is 5,000 kilograms. That's not much for a Falcon 9, but we don't know the exact number on that. The satellites are going to approximately a circular 530 kilogram sun-synchronous orbit, or SSO, which is a 97.5 degree inclination. So it's actually slightly retrograde. So they do have to fly slightly backwards against the rotation of the Earth. So if you watch that video that I just came out with, why don't they launch rockets from the equator? These are one of those missions where it's actually a disadvantage if you were to launch it from the equator. A mission like this would actually do better up in Alaska or somewhere even further north, up in that launch pad in Norway. It'd do awesome up there because you're having to cancel out very little of the Earth's rotation. So I just thought that was kind of fun. You're right. We actually don't know for sure if this thing is fueled up and ready to go because we haven't seen any tweets. We'll stand by. Hopefully we hear something. Will they be attempting to recover the first stage? Yes, and this is one of my favorite things of all time is when it returns to launch site landing, so an RTLS. So this will be landing back at LZ4, or landing zone 4, which is only like 400 meters from the launch pad. So basically it comes right back down to the launch pad. So a quarter mile away from the launch pad is where the landing pad is. It's super cool. I think this is it helps you realize, this thing can go literally cross the Kármán line, go beyond space, put in about a quarter of the amount of orbital velocity needed for this mission, and then turn around and come back and land right next to the launch pad with within a meter of accuracy these days. I mean, they are just absolutely nailing it, and it's so fun to watch. So, will they be attempting to recover the fairings? The fairing halves will be recovered from the water about 551 kilometers or 340 miles downrange by Go Beyond, which is the recovery vessel. Are these fairings new? It is unknown, but both are likely flight proven because that is so what SpaceX is doing now. They're reflying the fairings, the actual nose cone, over and over and over again, which reduces the costs. It also reduces just even having to have the workforce be building fairings. If you can take those team members and put them somewhere else, that's actually a pretty big bonus too. So, you don't think it's within about a meter these days, Trevor? Trevor's doubting me when I said within about a meter. I mean, it's within a couple meters. They are well within the bullseye if the weather's decent. I mean, it's definitely not within. It's definitely within 3 or 4 meters for sure. Maybe not a meter, but it's darn close. I mean, the accuracy is amazing. How's the weather looking? To be determined. These are the stats that just are getting ridiculous. When I first started live streaming rockets, this would have been absolutely unheard of. I can't even believe it. 272nd Falcon 9 launch. I remember watching the 6th one, I think, 6th or 7th. This is utterly insane. 204th Falcon 9 flight with a flight-proven booster. So 204th reuse of a booster. Ridiculous. 216th, 204th reflight of a booster. Falcon 9, Falcon 9, oh yeah, there we go. Reflight of a booster, because Falcon Heavy boosters. 82nd reflight of a booster this year. Ridiculous. 244th, is that right? 244th booster landing. Ridiculous. 76th booster landing on, of course, I Still Love You, the drone landing ship. 170th consecutive landing, which is, of course, a record. 170 landings in a row. The space shuttle only launched 135 times in its 30-year history. And, of course, 2 of those times, unfortunately, didn't land. So they're at 170 consecutive landings, which is incredible. This is the 13th landing attempt at LZ4. So they don't do these landings back. Why does it say on Of Course I Still Love You? 76th landing on Of Course I Still Love You. Oh, yeah, that's inaccurate. Oh, well, it's not landing on Of Course I Still Love You. It's landing at LZ4. Ignore that one. 83rd launch for SpaceX in 2023. It's the 56th SpaceX launch from Slick 4E, and it's the 182nd orbital launch of this year. Absolute shocking. And so if you guys want to learn more about this mission, about some of the launch providers and the launch missions, this is what's crazy. Look at all of these payloads just crammed onto this thing. And you can tell that some of them, have multiple satellites and stuff onto the main deployment mechanism. So there are a lot of spacecraft crammed onto this thing, which is always impressive that they can, have safe deployments of so many vehicles. These are very, very, very impressive. It also consists of the orbital. Many of the satellites are orbital transfer vehicles or space tugs, which is really, really cool. So yeah, if you guys want to learn more about this, about the rideshare program, the logistics, the hardware, the launch log, all these other things, our website crew is just incredible, keeping track of all this stuff. And if you want to learn more about the Falcon 9 and what it does and what it's capable of, there you go too. We've got it all here for you. This article was written, I believe this one was written by Juan. Let me see. Oh my gosh, look at that. It was written by Juan, and also part of it by Trevor Sesnick, and edited by Chuck. So please tell them all thank you as we continue to await for any updates from SpaceX. I hope this isn't one where we... let's see. Do we have any updates? We don't have any updates yet. So I guess it's time to answer some questions. Unfortunately, I don't think right now at this moment my chat is my little comments are working. We're working on something in the background, and hopefully that helps it be more stable for IFT2. But go ahead and hit me with your questions, guys, and I will try my hardest to answer them. So let's see here. Again, it's I won't be able to put the comments up, but I'll just read whatever I see here. So when is it launching? I've got a big old countdown right here in the top of the screen. Just look at that. T minus 13 minutes and 48 seconds. Probably might have been quicker to look at the screen than to have typed that comment. But choice is yours. Let's see here. Oh, this is a good question. We have heard about SpaceX leasing Slick 6E, technically, at Vandenberg Space Force Base. I have info that they are also taking over Slick 6-3 from ULA. Any info there? Now, that I don't know. I don't know about them taking over Slick 3. Does anyone know about that, actually? Wait, it is a scrub. Is that correct? We might be hearing that it's a scrub. Give me a second here, folks. If it's a scrub, then I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to just hang out and end this rather quickly. Broadcast has ended. It hasn't even started. Well, that's not a good sign, is it? Let me see if we see anything from SpaceX. Oh, okay. Scrub is not confirmed. Scrub is not confirmed. But we are looking to make sure. We're trying to stay on top of this. 44 minutes ago, they tweeted, but that's been it. Well, we will see. By the way, to answer that question about Slick 3, they are not taking over Slick 3, period. All right, so not scrubbing, don't go anywhere. I do need to say they're having a handful of a Chazzy Mac. You've been a member for a while, but it says new member, so thank you for coming back. Unusual Tourist, thank you for your membership. Photo James with 15 months of membership saying can't wait for the countdown. We're getting close. We should be seeing some video pop up here literally any second if things are still happening. Pablo M, thank you for the new membership. I appreciate that. And same with Paul Bordeaux. Thank you. Sounds like SpaceX is live. I'm not seeing it here for some reason. Aha. Aha, they are. They are indeed live. Give me a second here and I will prepare this. All right. This is what I like to hear. I don't actually hear anything right now, but... And of course it's... All right. There we go. We'll see if... I like how it has to have the Twitter, like, built-in live viewer count. That's so janky. You know what? I'm going to do this. Watch this. No one's going to see this one coming. Bang! I mean, sorry, X, not Twitter. X. the Everything app. All right, let's all right, so let's give me some more questions, guys. Oh, here's one just from our Discord, from Bradley. Do I plan on rebroadcasting IFT2's X stream to YouTube? We're not going to just fully rebroadcast it, but we will be bringing their audio in. And once we lose sight of the rocket, we will be bringing the video in, since that will be our only available video once kind of after stage separation. The good news is we have 3. Last time, you saw our telescope tracker, which was incredible. We have 3 of those now from very different vantage points. So we'll be able to track and have incredible tracking footage all the way through stage separation. And hopefully even a little bit beyond that, assuming that the weather's clear. So we'll have amazing 4K views all the way through. Can't wait for that. Yeah. So and then obviously, like, once we can't see it, and as we need more updates from SpaceX and stuff, we will put that on air as well. So, oh yes, hang on. Joe's doing this. Okay, hang on. I gotta pull this up. This is actually more important than anything right now. I should change my. Give me 1 second here. I should change my stream to say, watch Joe Barnard, watch Everyday Astronaut, watch a SpaceX live stream, because that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to watch Joe Barnard, watch an Everyday Astronaut, watch
is that Tim is. Tim knows that I'm watching him, so he might do a quick reaction stream.
So, if you guys are confused right now, we are watching Joe Barnard watch a Everyday Astronaut stream, watch a SpaceX stream.
Okay, so now that my face is on there, I'm gonna have to move this up here. What's gonna have to happen here? Click the saturation.
What is happening?
Oh, and so now I'm over there.
Okay, this is. I'm already so confused. I can't keep doing this because my brain is breaking right now.
So, so you guys, what's happening is Tim is reacting to my stream.
What is happening?
Like it's probably going to stop fairly soon. So that's about what's happening in this moment. He seems pretty happy about it, which is great.
I do love this. Okay, I do have to stop that because otherwise my brain will explode trying to do that any longer. Oh my gosh. That is the most absurd thing. I love Joe Barnard. If you guys don't know who Joe Barnard is, he is one of the funniest and most talented individuals that I know of, honestly. And I'm not just saying that to wet his whistle right now or anything, but he is just so smart, and learning how to program and land model rockets on his own was still one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. So, big fan of Joe Barnard. But guys, look at this. We have a launch stream finally popping up. Let's go. That was the most absurd moment, I think. I love how it was slowly sucking out the saturation. That was great. Joe, I love you. Oh, man. Anyway, what questions do you guys have? What are the chances of Starship launching on the 17th? I mean, honestly, until we're about 3 days away, and until SpaceX says, like, we are launching on this date, anything's still up in the air. But I feel like it's definitely within, like, a week. But let's listen.
9 mission. SpaceX's 2-stage Falcon 9 rocket is currently scheduled to lift off in just under 7 minutes from now from Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base, which is just a few hours north from our headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Jesse Anderson, a manufacturing engineering manager here at SpaceX, and I'll be your host as we follow Falcon 9 take 113 spacecraft to low Earth orbit. As you might have guessed, today's launch marks our 9th dedicated Smallsat Rideshare Program launch. If you've been following along, this mission marks our 82nd launch in 2023. Falcon 9's second stage will deploy 90 payloads, including CubeSats, microsats, and orbital transfer vehicles carrying 23 spacecraft to be deployed at a later time.
So 150.
All spacecraft will separate from the second stage across 89 deployment events scheduled to start around the T plus 55-minute mark and last for about 30 minutes. We are expecting to have views and telemetry for all but 2 of those deployments. If you're interested, a full list of payloads are on SpaceX.com.
And stage 1 fuel load is complete.
Did you guys catch that? They said
We are currently
89
working towards a
deployments.
T0 of 10:49 a.m. Pacific time, which is just under 6 minutes from now. Weather is looking great there. You can see on your screen some blue skies, and the range is ready to support. But if for some reason we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. The rocket supporting our mission today is comprised of 2 stages, the first and second stage. The first stage will ignite all 9 engines at T0, then lift off from the launch pad and take the vehicle through the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere. When the 2 stages separate from each other, the second stage will light its single engine to propel the payloads to where they need to go for deployment. At the very top of the rocket, we have the payload fairing. The fairing protects all the spacecraft until the vehicle is outside of the Earth's atmosphere, at which point the 2 fairing halves separate to expose them to the vacuum of space. And there you can see on your screen a live view of the payloads on the payload adapter housed inside of the fairing. So you can see all those awesome payloads there. Right below the fairing, we have our second stage, which houses our single Merlin vacuum engine, or what we call the MVAC engine, which will propel our payloads to their eventual destination in space. Now below the second stage is the black carbon fiber inner stage. The inner stage connects the 2 stages and houses the center pusher that allow the first and second stage to separate during flight. It also houses the MVAC engine that I mentioned moments ago. Below that, we have the first stage, which we usually refer to as the booster. The first stage makes up the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle and has 9 M1D engines at the bottom. Those 9 Merlin engines do the bulk of the work to get the rocket off the ground and up into the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. It's also the primary part of Falcon 9 that we recover, refurbish, and reuse for multiple flights, which brings down the cost of regularly launching rockets. At about 2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage will separate and make its way back down to Earth and attempt a land landing at landing zone 4, which you could see there on your screen. And that is not too far from the launch pad. And for those of you keeping track, today's mission marks 12 flights for this specific rocket. If successful, this landing will mark SpaceX's 244th landing of an orbital class rocket.
Strongback's retracting.
Our goal with these missions is to provide small satellite operators competitive pricing, increased flight opportunities, and flexibility. We're flying some interesting payloads on this mission, including several different types of Earth observation and imaging satellites, multiple new orbital transfer vehicles, student research projects, and several payloads intended to demonstrate and grow in-space technologies. Our customers today come from all across the world, supporting teams from 19 different countries and a range of organizations, including the United States Air Force Academy and the Ministry of Higher Education and Research in Djibouti. We are excited to continue providing launch services for student groups and universities around the world, enabling access to space for students and inspiring the next generation of thinkers as we continue to look to the stars for humanity's future.
I do want to point out that Slick 4E still has the old strongback style where it reclines about 13 degrees or whatever it is and stays there, and the rocket just accelerates, and will kind of shoot a lot of exhaust onto the strongback there. The ones out at the Cape swing back right at liftoff. They only retract a little bit, and then at liftoff they swing away to help at least try to prevent, all the stuff from just getting completely blasted. Just absolutely like McNuggeted out of there. Just it goes crazy. So it's pretty, it's interesting that they still have a high launch cadence with this old school style strongback.
And there's that call out that we were waiting for. That is stage 2 liquid oxygen loading complete. That means that propellant loading is complete for Falcon 9 for launch.
Ground gas closeout.
And there you can see some white clouds that started to vent from the transporter erector. Now that we are done loading propellant, we are clearing out the liquid oxygen line on the TE. And that's why you see those white clouds there. Next event coming up is Falcon 9 in startup at the T-1 minute mark. That's where the flight computers will take over the launch countdown.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Great news. The flight computers have taken over, and we're just waiting for the final go from the launch director.
Let's go.
LD is go for launch.
And awesome news. All systems are go for Falcon 9's launch of Transporter 9.
Here we go. Our clock is a little ahead, but you get the idea.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage
15
1,
seconds.
Flight.
So that means there's about a 14-second delay between real time and
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff of SpaceX Transporter 9. Go Transporter, go SpaceX.
Vehicle pitching downrange. Nominal chamber pressure.
Tracking camera's getting a little ahead of it. It might have been like an automated one because it seemed to not correct for it at all.
It is T plus 40 seconds into flight, and Falcon 9 has cleared the tower at Space Launch Complex 4 East. We've got some awesome views there. Falcon 9 is throttling down in preparation for max Q. That's the point of maximum aerodynamic stresses on the vehicle during ascent.
Vehicle supersonic.
And that should be coming up here in a few seconds.
Max Q.
And great call out there. We've passed through max Q. Next up will be a few events happening back to back. That will be MECO, stage separation, stage 1 flip, SES-1, and then the start of the boost backburn on the first stage vehicle. Now, MECO is where we will shut down all 9 of those M1D engines that you see ignited on your screen there. Once we shut down those engines, then we can prepare for stage separation. That's where the first and second stages will separate from each other. After that, the first stage vehicle will begin to make its way back to land with the stage 1 flip as well as the start of its boost back burn, while the second stage ignites its MVAC engine with the event called SES-1 or second stage engine start 1. Again, those events coming up here in just about 20 seconds or so. That will be MECO, stage separation, stage 1 flip, and the boost back burn as well as SES-1.
So city. Going up on MECO. Nice.
And MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stubby nozzle for the win.
Stage 2 ignition.
Stage 1 boost back startup.
Still love that.
And some incredible views there on your screen. You could see the first stage vehicle in the view of the second stage view. We've also have a shortened nozzle on today's flight today, so you can see the flame on that MVAC engine burning very bright. Excellent views today. What a sight to see.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there we just heard the call out for fairing separation confirmation.
You could actually see the booster was slowing down.
And we are in the boost back burn of that
forward.
first stage vehicle. This boost back burn lasts just about a minute.
And now you can see it's going back this way.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
That is so cool.
And there's that call out that the boost back burn has concluded for the first stage vehicle. Now that is the first of 3 burns in order for the first stage vehicle to make its way back to land.
Following nominal trajectories.
Some good call outs there, both vehicles following nominal trajectories. On your left-hand screen, you can see that the grid fins are deploying on the first stage vehicle. So it will first do its flip, boost back burn, and now it can deploy those grid fins to help guide it back to our landing zone today.
Yes. This is the best part.
Again, what you're seeing on your screen on the left-hand side is a view of the first stage vehicle, and on your right-hand screen, a view from the second stage looking at our MVAC engine.
We should have really good tracking footage of this. They tend to, the return
We've got some awesome clear views today on both the first and second stage. Really cool to see. The next event coming up for the first stage vehicle will be the entry burn. That should happen around the T plus 6 minute mark, which is just about a minute and 15 seconds away from now.
The booster is finally falling. It reached its
Again,
apogee.
the first stage vehicle has 3 burns in order to make its way back to land today. It's already completed the boost back burn. The next burn will be the entry burn. That's where we'll reignite some engines to help slow the vehicle down in preparation for re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Then we'll use the atmosphere to help scrub most of the velocity on the vehicle, and then use a final burn, the landing burn, to help the vehicle touch down for landing.
Second stage is screaming. That solid chunk of
Again, what you're
there.
seeing on your screen is a view of the second stage vehicle. Today we are flying a shortened nozzle. That's why you could see that flame coming out of that MVAC engine there. Again, with some incredible views with the Earth in the background.
Lots of questions about...
And we are coming up on the entry burn for the first stage vehicle here in a few seconds. First stage on your left-hand screen.
Lots of questions about the stubby nozzle.
Both vehicles
I'll
continue to follow
definitely talk
nominal trajectories.
about that in a second here.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there you can see that the entry burn has begun on the first stage vehicle. This burn lasts just about 15 seconds or so.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Hopefully we start getting some tracking shots now.
And as you
Stage
can
1
see,
AFTS is saved.
as you can see and heard that call out that the entry burn has concluded, those engines have shut down. Again, that helps slow the vehicle down as it enters back into the Earth's atmosphere, but now we are utilizing the atmosphere to help slow down the first stage velocity.
Oh, yeah.
Now the landing burn should be coming up here in about 10 seconds or so.
Stage 1 is transonic.
So crazy.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And there you can see the landing burn has begun. Let's watch as Falcon 9 touches down on landing zone 4.
Landing lead deploy.
Come on. Too easy.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And an awesome view as Falcon 9 touched down on landing zone 4. This marks the 12th landing for the specific booster, and also marks SpaceX's 244th landing of an orbital class rocket.
Just too easy for them. It's absolutely crazy.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
It was
Now the
pretty
next
far off
event
center.
coming up is SECO 1, or Second Stage Engine Cutoff 1. And that will be where we shut down that MVAC engine that you see burning bright on your screen and allow the vehicle to coast. This will be the first shutdown of this engine, first of 2 burns.
Okay, so maybe not 1 meter off, maybe more like 5 to 10
Seco.
meters off still. Oh yeah, ice chunks. I love seeing that. Not a UFO.
Nominal orbit insertion.
Identifiable.
And great news, we were able to see SECO, that engine shutting down, and heard a confirmation of good orbit. So coming up next, we have the second burn of our MVAC engine on board the second stage around the T plus 57-minute mark. We'll be back in about 40 minutes to bring you live coverage of SES-2, followed shortly after by the beginning of our payload deployments. So until then, enjoy the space views, and we'll see you soon.
All right, well, in that case, we'll switch over to this. Wow, mustache cam. Okay, so let's talk about the stubby booster, or the stubby nozzle, because the music's really loud. Still see a lot of people asking about the stubby nozzle. They've been doing this a handful of times now, and it's quite simple. So it's always work backwards, right? So you basically figure out how much work can your second stage do. So you have your payload. Your payload weighs X amount, or a masses X number of kilograms. Let's say, we'll just make it up a number, 10,000 kilograms. And your second stage can do X, it can push those 10,000 kilograms up to what velocity, right? How much delta V, change in velocity, can the upper stage do? So you have that, you figure out that number, you say, all right, well, the upper stage can do, I'm, again, totally making up numbers here, 4.5 kilometers per second, or whatever, 4,500 meters per second of delta V while pushing 10,000 kilograms. Totally making it up. Now you say, all right, well, that means our booster only needs to do, 3,300 or whatever meters per second of delta V. So if our booster can do 3,300 meters per second, let go of the second stage can do the rest of the 4.5 or whatever I said it was going to do. And if the booster still has plenty of propellant to come back and land back at land, and then say it still has extra propellant, and they're like, well, geez, we didn't even use the whole rocket. We could actually have the upper stage do a little bit less work, and also we don't need all of the performance out of this upper stage. Therefore, what if we just trimmed the niobium nozzle? Because niobium is extremely expensive, it's hard to manufacture, and it's a rare material. So if we just trim this off, and we don't need all the performance, because don't forget the nozzle's job is to convert low pressure gas into, or high pressure gas into low pressure gas. In the combustion chamber, it's high pressure, low velocity, and the further it, after the D level nozzle, or the throat, after that point, it starts to speed up the flow of the gas into supersonic speeds. The longer that nozzle is, the more work it can do to convert that pressure and heat into velocity. So the longer the nozzle, the more efficient the rocket engine can be. It's as simple as that, really. So if we say, okay, we can trim this off because we don't need all of that performance, they save weight, they save money, they save time and effort with an niobium nozzle. And it's just as simple as, if you don't need it, why waste all of that extra material when you could use, especially, at the end of the nozzle, that's where the diameter is the biggest, or the circumference is the biggest, so therefore the surface area is the biggest. Trimming off even a little bit of that is actually a lot of material, a lot of metal that could just be, yeah. So it's all literally just about however much they can get away with. SpaceX is constantly tweaking things to try and either reduce costs. It's mostly about always reducing costs. But sometimes they're tweaking to increase performance, and other times when they have plenty of performance margin, they might just say, we don't actually need all this. So there we go. Let's go here and answer some questions here. Maxi, stubby for the win. It is. I kind of like it. I like what I like about it. I wish we could go backwards and see. You will notice that it has a lot more unburnt propellant that you can see, because it hasn't had time to interact with the main bit of exhaust, because they're using that film cooling. They have that film cooling manifold from the turbine. So the gas generator is extremely fuel rich, and that means it's cooler, fuel rich exhaust, which is really sooty, really dark, and that gets pumped into that nozzle to keep the rest of that nozzle cool. Once the nozzle goes from that regenerative cooling, like we see most, like on the regular Falcon 9 nozzles are actually regenerative cooling. There's fuel flowing through the walls of the nozzle to keep it from melting. There's still a portion of the vacuum nozzle that is regeneratively cooled, but then once it gets to that exhaust manifold, then they switch to niobium. And niobium just radiates the heat away. By that point, the temperature of the exhaust is lowered low enough where if you just put if you pump the gas generator exhaust back into the nozzle, it creates a little barrier there that you can therefore use to help keep that nozzle from melting. So long story short, I don't even know what I was getting at. Oh yeah, when you cut it short though, you actually see a little bit more of that dark exhaust still interacting with some of the propellant, the hotter propellant, and it's orange and it's fiery looking, and I think that's really cool. Yeah, hopefully that helped explain it. Let's see here. So this is from Lol Demons. Hey Tim, hope you are streaming Starship. Yes, of course. We did talk about it at the beginning of the show. We have been working literally nonstop since IFT1 to upgrade, improve, and actually put some things in place that will make it so deploying our assets on launch day is like actually a solved thing and not like a scramble every time, which increases reliability, decreases stress. It's been awesome. The team has been just doing incredible work. Our network is much more robust. There's backups and backups and backups. We have views that are incredible. I can't wait to share our views with you guys. It is going to be absolutely incredible. And I think we're going to be the only ones streaming in 4K. And not just streaming in 4K, because it's easy to say, oh, it's 4K and my camera was set to 4K. Like, we're talking proper 4K streaming. So if you're watching on a big screen TV, just even the text, the font, everything just looks better. And we're actually going to be able to produce it in, I think, really, really, really high quality 4K. So it just looks awesome. And I think that's what a mission like this deserves, is really high quality, great coverage from beginning to end. And that's what we're hoping to provide for you guys. And like I said, we will be piping in SpaceX audio and using their feed as a reference point for a lot of things. So I can't wait. It's going to be very, very fun. And I hope you guys join us, because it will be an awesome launch. I don't know. I'm feeling really good about it. I personally think they solved so many problems between the first one and the second one. B9 is so much more upgraded overall compared to B7. It has so many, just way more updated features. Yet it's still like an old booster. It's like really, really old at this point. Especially the engines are like ancient by SpaceX terms. So it's still an old booster, which is fun, because even if this one does well, it just means the next one's just going to get better and better and better. So we're really, I'm expecting to see it for sure get to stage separation this time. And I just hope that stage separation works. It should be really, really fun. All right, let's get to some more questions. Callum says, nice to catch a stream. Saw you in Germany. Thank you for seeing me in Germany. That was really fun. I hope you guys are paying close attention. And I hope you're also available in January, because we will be doing a really big event, and I hope that some of you guys can make it there. It will be awesome. We'll be talking more about that during the Starship stream for sure. I thought X could airplay. No, I thought it can. I thought you could, maybe not airplay, but you can still cast. Maybe not. This is from, and where was that? Sorry, that was from Fintan. Again, sorry, our comments aren't able to come up on stream today. We are working on that as we speak. Johnny says, isn't one of the engine cameras placed upside down? So they're not upside down, they're just on opposite sides of each other. They're 180 degrees from each other. So when the rocket's flying, you just see one view is 180 degrees opposite of the other one. Yeah. From Mr. Z, how expensive is second stage compared to the booster? It's much cheaper. I mean, we don't have exact numbers, but an estimate of something like $5 million might be a reasonable estimate. Maybe in Discord, Trevor or Alex might have a better sense of the cost, because it only has one engine, remember. So the engine, compared to 9 Merlin engines on the first stage, so that's already maybe not quite 9 times cheaper, maybe more like 8 times cheaper, because it does have the bigger nozzle and the more expensive nozzle with niobium. But it is cheaper, and then, the rest of it's a fairly standard, just regular tank that they make at scale, obviously, over 80 times this year already. So, yeah, we don't know the exact cost, but I would estimate it's probably around $5 million or something, Definitely the most expensive part of the vehicle these days, though, for sure, is just the second stage being thrown away, which is the beauty of Starship. Eric, how's it going, Eric? Using my milestone chat to say Stubby bad. Hey, I like Stubby. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that they're being so resourceful and not, they're constantly, it's just I think it looks funny. I agree with that. But it is just a testament to the ongoing, never satisfied, always working on upgrading and or downgrading and or just tweaking everything at SpaceX, which is so cool. According to Fool.com, it's 12.4. That sounds expensive to me. I forgot to mention Mary Liz's involvement on this. There's the blue marble thing. What is that? Hang on, let's find that. If you can link it to me, Juan. Our producer, Mary Liz, who is kind of behind the scenes of absolutely everything and also in front of the camera during streams. She's like the co-host. Mary Liz Shalinsky actually will be playing music in space using this really cool this really cool instrument from the ground. Yeah, we'll see if we can get information about it. Blue marble, PD music synthesizer in space. Here we go. So she's going to be playing with this. 1 second here. Let me do this. Boom. So this was something that they actually did. It's a music synthesizer in space. Boom. How do you do? The first ever music synthesizer that can only work in space. Then yeah, there's a web-based interface. Pretty cool. Blue marble synthesis capsule. A zero-gravity capsule in space that measures the behavior of a floating marble and transmits sensor data, audio feed, and video back to us in real time on planet Earth. Sounds crazy. Honestly, I'm gonna have to have Mary Liz just even explain and help me figure out why that's awesome. It sounds really cool. It's one of those things. I'm just not a synth guy. Oh wait, was it? Oh, it's done by Andrew Huang. I follow him. I didn't realize that. Oh, have joined the project. Never mind. It's not. It wasn't his project, but that's cool. That's very cool. Consider me excited. Let's see here. Let's go back to this. Yeah. Very fun. All right. What other questions do we have here? Whoa. Yeah. Okay. So I understood that the bell. This is from Border Keeper. I understood the bell as a way to keep the outgoing gas restrained, so you can push against it longer instead of pouring out the sides. Is that right? Yes, that's technically right. You're reacting against more of the nozzle, but it's also about increasing the velocity of the exhaust gas itself. So the longer the nozzle, the more opportunity it has. After the throat, the more and more you expand and lengthen your nozzle, the more you're converting high pressure into low pressure and you're speeding it up. So it's kind of the opposite. When it's subsonic, when gas is subsonic, as you shrink, like if you choke the flow, it actually speeds up until it gets to that transonic region, until it gets to supersonic. Then at the throat, if you keep choking it, it actually just chokes it out and like slows everything down and just does not allow the same flow rates through that throat. So after the throat, you actually have to spread it back out, because now you're into supersonic exhaust gas flow, and it works backwards, and it's crazy. It's just one of those weird laws of physics things. And so as you expand and lengthen and extend that nozzle, the more work it can do to speed up the exhaust gas. Great question, Border Keeper. It says message retracted from just give me a stupid name. I'm sorry that your message got retracted, but thank you so much for your donation. From Michael Maxey. Hey Tim, what are your thoughts about SpaceX and NASA shipping equipment to the moon during SpaceX HLS test landing during Artemis 3? I mean, I'm sure they will. I'm quite sure they will. You know, just like the Apollo programs had instrumentation that was left on the surface of the moon for every launch. HLS, there will be uncrewed HLS test, at least one uncrewed HLS test for NASA with SpaceX. But, I don't know if that one will necessarily, if it lands successfully on the moon, I don't know if it'll deploy any instrumentation. But I'm guessing by the time humans are on it for Artemis 3, I'm very certain that they'll have something to do besides just walk around. I think that's kind of the whole point, is to deploy scientific payloads and do something meaningful. So, all right. This is from Micah's channel. Please tell me you're taking that mustache to the moon. I have no idea. You know, the mustache comes and goes. I actually didn't mean for it to go quite skin short. The barber, she accidentally used like a electric actual razor instead of a trimmer. I was gonna just go no guard. Kind of got a little shorter, and here we are. Don't mind it though. This is from Not Heisenbear. How's it going? Saying hot staging should be spicy. Yes. So just to reiterate, if you're unfamiliar with what hot staging is okay. Stage separation of a rocket, right? It's where the booster pushes and lets go of the upper stage. Once clear of the booster, then they light the upper stage engine. And in order to do that, one of the things that you have to do, if you just pushed it, that single impulse, and then let go, that as soon as it's done pushing. Now this is back in as it's no longer accelerating. It's just completely free floating, right? So that means all the propellant on the inside just floats around, blobs about. So there could be air bubbles anywhere that could get sucked up by the rocket engine. So what they have to do is they actually have to use a little bit of nitrogen cold gas thrusters to start accelerating it just a little bit so that all of the propellant settles back down into the bottom towards the engine so the pumps suck up liquid and not gas, because as it accelerates, it pulls the liquid down, the gas goes up because it's less dense. And by up, I mean towards the top of the tank. So they can light the engine that way because they use ullage gas or ullage thrusters to accelerate the upper stage just a little bit so it can light its engines. Now here's the deal, and this is something that the Russians and Soviets figured out a long time ago, and the US did it too with Titan. It's not unheard of, but it's called hot staging. The idea is you're still accelerating, so therefore the propellant's all settled, and while you accelerate, you actually you turn on your upper stage engine. Now obviously if it was a completely sealed container like a normal Falcon 9 rocket or something, that would be bad. It'd blow the whole, blow that up and likely could damage your upper stage. So Soviet rockets have these big trestle trusses, and they will have like a trellis frame, like a tube frame. So all the exhaust gas can just flow out of those, it's like a gate. It looks like a fence, it looks almost like a fence. And so that's what the inner stage is made out of. So they can actually light the engine during that process, and the exhaust gas has somewhere to escape to, and then the upper stage can fly away. The first stage normally in a Titan or a Soyuz or a Proton, then the booster shuts down once the second stage is clear. Now SpaceX with the Starship, what they plan to do is literally just keep the upper stage, keep the booster running very slow. I think only 3 engines, I think, is what I think Elon said. 3 engines will be running. They'll light the upper stage of Starship. It'll accelerate away from the booster, and then the booster will keep those engines running to immediately begin its boost back burn back towards, well, in this case, in the first launch, it'll just do a boost back burn and basically fall where it is. It might, come back a little bit, but later on, they'll continue that boost back burn to bring it back for a chopstick landing. So that's what the hot staging is. And yeah, I'm really excited for that. It makes sense. There's nothing ridiculous about it. Like, it's not like this is like I can't believe they're trying this. It's like, it's a way to do it. Again, several rockets have done it completely successfully. So it's not some unheard of, terrifying idea, but it will be exciting nonetheless. It'll especially at the scale, will be very, very exciting. Let's see here. This is from Carrington Cox. Tim, do you need an AV engineer and cameraman? I think we do have a list of people that we have kind of on our team. We might need extra help. If you want to reach out to Mary Liz, she is our production manager, and she can put you on the list if people aren't available to make it. Especially if you have experience with black magic switchers, large scale ones, constellations, with 40 channel inputs. That'd be awesome. We're looking for more producers for sure. So if that's something that you can do, that's what we're looking for most. I think at this point is backups of our producers. So if that's you, hit up Mary Liz. She's at info@everydayastronaut.com. So if you are someone that is, especially if you're in Texas, like if you are anywhere, San Antonio, Austin, Houston, and you are coming down to these launches anyway, and you actually know how to run a switcher, we would like to have you on our list of contacts to be able to hit up if we need a producer, because we currently have 2 guys, and oftentimes they work. It's Andrew and Colin, and both of them oftentimes are working together on sets. You know, they do live television production, so lots of times they're working together. So if one of them can't make it, both of them usually, and vice versa. So we are looking for more help. So let's see, from Matsky, how many G's does the Falcon 9 booster make on re-entry and landing? The deceleration looks massive. I don't know the exact number. I bet we can look at flightclub.io for an idea of, I think it's something like 5 G's. View trajectory. Launches. Let me see here. M-Power 5 and 6. I'm just taking a look at this. I think it is like 5. Oh man, I did not do porny, end up flaming it down. I should be fired. I should be fired. That's not good. If someone can find it on Flight Club, I'll keep answering more questions. But I think it's like 5 or 6 G's on reentry from atmospheric reentry. Like the atmospheric drag is doing that much work to slow it down. It's actually quite incredible. And the engines also do a lot too for the actual entry burn. Let's see here. From Andy, thank you so much. I appreciate that. From Blueshy Boy. Austin's gang says hi. That's awesome. I hope that's, I don't know which Austin, if it's Bernard or if it's Austin DeSisto, but both of them are awesome Austins. So I will say cheers to all of you guys. So thank you so much. Or is it Austin, Texas? Is it Austin, Texas, gang? I don't know. Thank you very much, Blueshy Boy. From Kyle Wayne, do you think they have been landing off-center to save on maintenance costs and downtime on landing pads and drone ships? I guess that's not a bad idea if you're not landing in the exact same spot every single time. That's actually probably a good thing, actually. You ever think about that, Trevor? Thinking that they aren't very accurate? What if they're extremely accurate and they're intentionally not landing in the same spot every time? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was actually a thing. Who knows? All right. I like that, Kyle. That's a good question. Just give me a stupid name. Hey, Tim, would you consider adding filters and alerting to your website? I want to see a launch in person, but I always find out too late when there will be a Vandenberg daytime art return to launch site. I think we've talked about trying to do that. I'm not sure. I think it's on our list of things to do, though, is have a filter like that and a way to get notifications. I think we've actually talked about doing that exact thing. So I will let you know. It's probably, we have a lot of things always in the works. The team is always doing incredible stuff in the back end, but for many people, it's like a hobby or a second job, you know, so they can't commit to it full time. So from Stuart Leader, 31 months and still enjoying Tim's coverage. Long may it continue. Bring on IFT2, Integrated Flight Test 2 of Starships. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Stuart. Let's see, from Mr. Adarsh on YouTube is asking, have I tried Grok, which is the X AI that's ridiculous? I have not tried it myself, but I've seen lots of very funny answers. It to me feels like X basically created Funnybot from South Park. There's like a smart robot that creates jokes. I mean, it is properly funny, so pretty cool. Let's see here. Let's get some more. Okay, this is from Michael Maxey. After SpaceX Mission Control makes the booster transonic call out, the air pressure is high enough to help slow down the booster using the grid fins. And not just the grid fins, but also remember, when it's coming back in for reentry, the grid fins aren't actually that high drag. Like the amount of surface area from the grid fins is almost nothing if you look at that compared to the surface area of the actual diameter of the booster, right? So the area of the booster is a lot more than the area of those little tiny grid fins, like since they're mostly, you know, holes, right? Like they're mostly not a thing. So what they're doing, and a lot of times what you'll see them do, is instead of coming into the airstream like this straight on, they actually come in at an angle So basically the airstream is coming straight on like this, and it has more surface area to react against. So, yeah. I saw a question about bringing back our Ludicrous Future. It's really just hard to do scheduling with 3 people. Especially, you guys know I travel a ton, unfortunately. I wish I wasn't always traveling. If I wasn't traveling, like, our Ludicrous Future would be so easy. But I'm almost never not traveling, unfortunately. I mean, I've been in 3 countries in the last, like, 3 weeks, and it's just really, really hard to schedule live streams with the travel schedule. So it's just unfortunate, and it's just getting worse and worse, and Dear Moon training, when that happens, will just make that even worse. What I have thought about doing, tell me if you would like this. I have thought about just starting a very casual podcast where I just put a mic on and I'm going for a walk, because I tend to go for walks in the afternoon when the weather's nice, and literally just reading questions off of Twitter and Patreon and Discord or whatever, and just answering them casually. Like, not just always space news, because that's the hard thing, is like space news, I want to, you know, yeah, I don't know. And maybe someday it'd be really fun to go on walks with people, and just as we're walking about talking, I think that'd be really fun. Would you guys like that? Would that actually be of value? I don't think I'd want to put the videos on YouTube, or like have an audio version of it on YouTube. I think it would just be on podcast players. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, and yeah, maybe that could just be also broadcasted and recorded on X as well. I think that might not be a bad idea. Cool. Well, good. I'm glad that you guys are into that option. Ryan wants to know, is there a difference in fuel costs for a boost back burn over California versus Florida? It all depends. Each and every boost back burn and return to launch site landing is slightly different. It all just matters how much work did the first stage have to do in order to get the second stage to where the second stage needs to be, right? So if some return to launch site landings probably have plenty of extra margin. Other missions might have very little margin, and it's just a matter of, what's what. So I can't say either way. It's not inherent that one coast would have more or less margins. It's just mission dependent. And yeah. Everyday astronaut walk. Yeah, I don't know what we'd name it. Walk and chat. Walk and talk. Walk and talk and Tim and Dodd. I wish it was a walk on the beach. Most of the time when I'm walking, it'd literally be like in the airport or something. That's like my idea, would be like, you'll hear just the activity of life in the podcast, because sometimes it'd just be convenient for me to do that. Like, how funny would it be if I'm literally like boarding a plane and I'm just sitting there reading questions and trying to be like really quiet, and you're just hearing me be like, okay, so on January 3rd, like I think it'd be pretty funny. EVA, Everyday Astronaut EVA. I actually kind of like that. Extravehicular activities with the Everyday Astronaut. Not a bad idea. From Andy, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for your work, Tim. Much appreciated and watched from the UK. Just bought my first my Thirst Model Y Tesla. Love the design and performance. What is deemed a success for the second launch of Starship? I think if they make it to stage separation, I think SpaceX would be thrilled. I think at this point, as long as they get a lot of data out of the booster that's nominal, and as long as they don't destroy the launch pad this time, I think they'll be thrilled, honestly. Even if they don't quite get to stage separation, if they, if they just have a fairly clean burn, and if something were to go wrong, like, 2 minutes into flight, I don't think they would care. I think they'd consider that like, good job. We learned a lot. We had a lot of nominal flight data this time. Fuel up procedures, anytime they're working with the clamps and all of that kind of stuff, and the ground equipment, that's always a lesson learned. I think they want to get to stage sep. If they get to stage separation and don't blow up during that hot staging, then I would definitely say that is awesome. The Everyday Astro Walk. That's not bad either. That's hilarious. That is funny. Hey, thank you so much, Rodney. I appreciate the tip. You guys are awesome. And again, of course, guys, normally we have a chat system where I can put your questions up on air, again, it's currently not working. But what we normally do for that is, you know, we pull in questions, and you don't have to do super chats for me to see them. It's just a lot easier. The super chats go into a totally different feed here, so it's really easy for me to see them. Normally, I just try to pull up every good question I see, but unfortunately, we just don't have that right now. I'll just read this. Haven't pre-read it, so from composite content, why don't kerosene engines use LOX for regenerative cooling instead of using that expensive RP1 fuel? Wouldn't that allow you to use much cheaper Jet A and Jet A1 fuels? So why don't kerosene engines use LOX, the liquid oxygen, for regenerative cooling instead of using that expensive RP1 fuel? Well, they aren't used. So for regenerative cooling, the cooling loop still goes and is burned in the engine. So you're not wasting it. So it's not like you're using up expensive fuel to do the regen. Regen cooling is just already is the fuel that would be flowing into the engine anyway. Instead of the pipes going straight into the injector, you run the pipes like through the walls of the nozzle basically, and then it goes into the injector. So it's not wasted fuel, first and foremost. And second, generally very, very, very hot gaseous oxygen is just a scary thing to work with. So if you are turning your oxygen into gaseous oxygen, you can do regenerative cooling with liquid oxygen, and some engines have done that, and some engines will do like a dual expander. As a matter of fact, I believe the BE7 that is going to be the Blue Moon lander engine for Blue Origin, I believe that's a dual expander cycle engine. So it actually has two cooling loops, one that's uses liquid oxygen, one that uses liquid hydrogen, and both of them evaporate, and both of them in that phase change, and as that pressure grows and as that heat energy increases, they use that to spin the turbines to run the pumps. And this allows you to like you spin two different pumps with two. It's almost like full flow. It's like almost like an expander cycle full flow engine, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure why you're saying 144p, or great on our end. Refresh your thing and make sure the quality's high. This is from Michael Maxey. There is a NOTAM, a notice to airmen, for the Gulf Coast, the Caribbean, and the area of the Hawaii the Hawaii area. That is correct. There is that. That is, of course, subject to change. And again, SpaceX has confirmed net November 17th. So they're hoping for November 17th, more or less. So, yeah. Hopefully, but, you know, I think they're still waiting to get full confirmation. I do expect to get confirmation by the middle of next week. So, whether or not the 17th would hold. Good chance that it could run into the 20th. Let's see here. Oh, also, yeah, from Juan says more heat capacity in kerosene. So therefore it can actually, it's heat flux, I believe is what it's called, is what it can actually accept more heat from the walls to actually like hold on to it, right? Before it can get really, 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 really hot. And LOX can't actually do that. So it's more about just how much heat load can it take and how much can it take away from the walls of the engine to prevent them from melting. Thank you so much to Emmanuel Baptist Church, FTL. Much, much appreciated. Kinley wants a quick explanation on how a rocket works. Sure. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it, I have only a few minutes here, so let's go. How a rocket works. And for this, you know what? I'm just going to hide this for now. We're just going to go full screen. You're going to get everything. How a rocket works. This is a rocket. A rocket shoots something out, tiny air molecules or gas molecules, out of the engine very fast in one direction, and that causes a reaction on the vehicle to go in the opposite, equal and opposite direction, Newton's third law. So the faster you can shoot gas molecules, so basically all a rocket is basically a mass ejector. Just think of it like almost like a gun. You know, a gun, when you pull the trigger, shoots a bullet, that bullet flies out in the other direction, there's recoil on the gun, right? The explosion, the shot of the bullet and the mass flying in that direction actually creates a force, and the shooter of the rifle or something will feel that, or a handgun, there's recoil in that. Same exact thing here, but instead of bullets, it's just gas. It's exhaust gas. So there's a little bit of mass in every single molecule in that gas. And the engine's job, the rocket engine's job, is to accelerate that gas as quickly as possible. The faster it's accelerated, the more efficient it actually is. So the more work it's able to do with the same amount of propellant. So let's say that the propellant was just barely flowing out of there. it would barely be pushing against the rocket. The rocket would just, right? But if it's shooting out of the engine at extremely high velocities, that does actually push against the rocket greater. So you're actually doing more work with the same amount of propellant. So that's actually considered your specific impulse. How much work are you doing with your propellant? Now, that plus how much propellant you have available is considered your delta V, so your change in velocity. How much work can your rocket do? So if you have a lot of, if you're full, you have a nice efficient engine, you can calculate how far can this thing travel. And what you're gonna find out is, okay, you can grow this thing pretty big. Now the limitation becomes, can this thing, the weight of this rocket, be overcome with gravity pulling down on the rocket? Can this engine overcome that mass, overcome that weight on Earth? That's the tricky part. So you might grow a rocket really big and sit there and be like, well, we have plenty. We have tons of change of velocity. We have tons of delta V in this upper stage. And it'll be like, well, now how do we get this thing going? Because it's sitting on the launch pad and it's too heavy. It can't even lift itself. And you're like, well, crap. Now, how do you get something into space? How do you get something into orbit? Well, now you use a booster engine, so a booster stage. So that's typically why you see the rocket equation work out to almost always favor, not almost always, always favor multi-stage rockets, because now you can take a first stage, you can fill it with fuel and propellant, and you can have, not only can you have sea level optimized engines that are optimized and able to fire at sea level, you can also have a vacuum optimized engine. So this will have 9 engines in this particular case with Falcon 9. And that can produce enough thrust to overcome the mass of both the first stage and the second stage. So it is strong enough to lift all of that rocket, right? All of it. That's what it has to be able to do. And therefore, it's not, now it's fighting gravity though. So even if it's accelerating at 1.5 Gs, it's actually only making up 0.5 G of acceleration, like 5 meters per second. Squared of acceleration against the Earth's almost 10 meters per second downward of pulling force from gravity. So this will do usually about a quarter of the work, maybe a third of the work, and get that vehicle up to that orbital velocity speeds of about 7.9 kilometers per second, or 7,900 meters per second, 17,500 miles an hour, 28,000 kilometers an hour is what it takes to do what SpaceX has done right now with Transporter 9 to get it into orbit. It requires that kind of velocity. So therefore, the upper stage can do so much work, like I said, typically about 3/4 of the work, and the booster stage has to do about a quarter of that amount of work, because it's mostly fighting gravity. It's in the atmosphere. It's actually doing a lot. It's actually doing a lot of the work, but it ends up that the upper stage, because it's already in space, it's already got about a quarter of the orbital velocity. It actually ends up doing a lot more work than it would seem, and that's the beauty of the rocket equation. So that's how rocket engines work. I hope that was succinct enough to make any sense. All right, we're getting close here to good. I got that in before we see second engine burn. Did that make sense to everybody? Are electric rocket engines possible from Mr. Ardarsh? So no and yes. To be very clear, I remember people were ripping Elon apart for saying that when he said you can't produce an electric rocket engine, he means like they were asking along the terms of like sustainability, why don't you just use all electric rockets? You really can't. You can in space, you can use ion, but they're not all electric. They're still shooting something that's not just electricity out. They're still having a reaction force against xenon or krypton or some noble gas that they can shoot out, or neon that they can shoot out of it. So they're using electricity to shoot something out, basically just using magnetism to accelerate something, but they still have something in there that they're shooting, right? So it's not like it's all electric. It is in a way, but it's still using a reaction mass to throw. You have to have a reaction mass. On Earth, the closest thing to that is you can power the pumps that force fuel into the engine with electric pumps. That's exactly what Rocket Lab does. That's what Astra's first rocket did, was use electric pump-fed engines. That has the ability, interesting. That's a simple idea. It totally makes sense from a development standpoint to be able to just use electric pumps. You hook them up to a battery. Interesting. Again, you hook them up to a battery, they spin, boom, you have a rocket engine that you can put high pressure into. Now the problem is batteries are a lot less energy dense than rocket fuel. So you carry around these big heavy batteries that are 20, 40, 50 times less energy dense. So now you're carrying all of that extra mass to do the same amount of work as if you had just burned some of your rocket propellant to power the pumps. So if you want to know, by the way, guys, if you're still listening to this and you're like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Don't forget, I produce really long, detailed videos with really good graphics about these exact topics, such as how do you start a rocket engine? How do you power a rocket engine? How do rockets work? Like getting into orbit. Watch my 2 latest videos. Watch how to power a rocket engine, how to start a rocket engine, and why don't rocket engines melt. I promise if you watch those videos and orbit versus suborbit, you will literally understand everything I've talked about. I promise, because we go into a lot more detail with really good graphics, and it's actually scripted out in a way that I'm not just blabbing on, and not doing a very good job. So don't forget that. That was a self shout out to my own videos, but there's a reason we produce those videos. I can't get this to work anymore. I might have to just give this a full reload. Well, hold on. Give me a second here. I'm just gonna refresh this guy, see if I can get it to work. That's not ideal. Did it end? It seems as it may have ended. It hit 1 hour. Does that mean they have to go into another one? Let's see. Anybody? Can anyone help? What happens when it hits an hour? Well, classic. Hopefully they get X figured out here soon, because that's not ideal. But you know what? Honestly, this might not be a bad time for me to get out of here soon, because I have some Kerbal to play for a video that we're working on, where I'm trying to really figure out the exact, like, what happens if you were to add jet engines to a Falcon 9, basically. What would the performance benefits be, or the performance hits be? And we're going to do that actually using Kerbal Space Program Realism Overhaul. We were starting to work on it yesterday with supporters. So if you are a YouTube member, a Patreon supporter, a Twitter subscriber, whatever, they're all the same thing. It doesn't matter. I'll be putting a link in when we do those streams using Realism Overhaul. It's a lot of fun, actually. But yeah. Let's see. Am I excited for KSP2 for science? I'm very excited for that. I was at when they did that announcement. I was there, and I had a big old fat smile on my face, because I'm ready for more and more and more KSP2 upgrades and updates, because I still believe it's an awesome game and has a lot of potential. So I'm excited to see it hopefully live up to some of those high expectations that we all have. Lauren wants to know, where did I get that rocket model? Well, guess what? First off, thank you for saying hi, and thank you for the question in the super chat. There's a website called everydayastronaut.com/shop, and guess what? We make what I think is the absolute highest quality Falcon 9 model rocket you can find, period. They're made out of metal. This is all metal construction, and or mostly metal. I guess some parts aren't, but you can even extend the landing legs. You can separate the stages, and I just think these are incredible. These were like almost 2 years of work between start and delivery of these rockets, and we are almost out. I think we're not doing another run of these, honestly. So we have not that many left, actually. I think we will run out of these this holiday season. So if you do like these and you've thought about getting your own Falcon 9 metal Falcon 9 model rocket from us, you better do that now. They come with instructions. I mean, these are like, I'm very proud of these, because this is the first like real product I've ever produced, and it was a unbelievable amount of work that went into these, and they're awesome. And we're excited we'll be doing another round of we're going to have new rockets coming out, and they're going to be from the Mercury program, which I'm really excited, kind of the start of spaceflight, because you'll get to see to scale how big that rocket is compared to, how big the Mercury Atlas and Mercury Redstone rockets were compared to a Falcon 9. You're going to laugh. It's like a pencil, basically, compared to the Falcon 9. And that's going to be the whole fun thing about this collection of rockets, is they're all going to be to the same scale, which to me is like the coolest thing ever. So, fixed tweet. Let's see. Did somebody? Can we actually? get back into this? We might be able to get back into this. Let me see if we can. But yeah, so if you want some of this stuff, by the way, guys, we are having a lot of new stuff coming in, hopefully by IFT2. But if you want to shop around, it does help immensely. So everydayastronaut.com/shop. Shop around. Oh, this is also the coolest thing that we have done lately, I think, is this color changing mug. So excited about this. It works really well. I drink out of one every single day now just because I think it looks awesome. If you've seen how SpaceX's heat shield on Starship works, it's basically looks just like this. It'll heat up to that same red color. So this looks like the heat shield tiles, just like this. This is an old link of SpaceX. Oh, heat shield tile test. You can see how they glow red when they're. Yeah, so that's why our mug does the exact same thing. I think that's awesome. And now you know. Now you know all about it. everydayastronaut.com/shop. Of course, everything you guys do there to help support the show goes right back in to making better content and making... Like I said, I'm so proud. Okay, here we go. We do have the broadcast back. I guess I'm not leaving yet.
Separation confirmed.
They are deploying satellites.
Elliott separation confirmed. Platero separation confirmed. Montes separation confirmed. Orb Astro TR1 separation confirmed.
They just shoot out of
Vanguard separation confirmed. Observer 1 separation confirmed.
That's so cool.
Barry 1 separation confirmed. Iris C2 separation confirmed.
I did want to take a second to answer this really good question from CJ. How does the Merlin relight when it's falling back to Earth? Isn't the propellant floating? So you'll actually notice for the boost back burn, they actually have to do, they'll use the cold gas thrusters on the inner stage to help settle propellant before that boost back burn. And then also re-entry burn. Before that, there's oftentimes, but actually, I think for re-entry burn already, there's enough deceleration from the atmosphere that the propellant's already settled. So the atmosphere is already decelerating it. So there's already a force that's slowing the fuselage down, and therefore the propellant's settling in it. I believe for the re-entry burn and for the landing burn especially. The landing burn, it's flying through the atmosphere. The atmosphere is pushing up against the fuselage, and the fuselage therefore is pushing up against the propellant. So it's actually under 5 Gs ish when it's under that deceleration before landing burn. So that's how they relight when it's falling back to Earth. Either using cold gas thrusters to settle the propellant, or using the atmosphere. The atmosphere's deceleration is settling the propellant. What are we looking at? We are looking at the 90 deployments, for 89 deployments for this mission.
Foxconn Pearl 1C separation confirmed.
Since this is a transporter mission, it's a ton of cube and small sats just being deployed, just one after another. Sometimes you'll see them shooting out of these deployment CubeSat deployers.
Lemur 2 good vibes separation confirmed. Outpost mission 2 separation confirmed.
They shoot out of there so fast.
Lemur 2 Sunita Vetra separation confirmed.
Tellus Mars, of course. Yep, we have been working nonstop on our stream for Starship, and it's going to be incredible. I've been working really hard. We have a really robust solution now, and we'll be able to do full 4K broadcast of Starship with incredible views from all over the place. So many different vantage points this time, and tons of redundancy. It is going to be amazing. So I hope you do tune in whenever it happens, and we try to let you know. But it's seeming like right now it's no earlier than November 17th, which is Friday. We will see. We will see. Waiting for more confirmation of more satellites.
Lemur to the cleaner, separation confirmed.
Lemur the cleaner. So in Discord, Sparky Mark was asking what the new crane thing is that we have. I thought you have a telescope on the van. So the van, we don't send the van anywhere near the rocket. The van stays with us. We have humans inside the van running the show because it's the heart of our production. It's the switcher, all of the encoders, everything that it takes to run the stream is in the van. So therefore, the van has humans in it, and the van stays parked at Mars, plugged into Mars. So the van Luna runs Mars, our studio. And so it stays there, parked there. The telescoping pole there, we don't really use it there at Mars because we have other vantage points that are a lot better than that. So we don't really use it for that, but we can and have used it like on site at other places, like at Kennedy Space Center. We've used the telescoping pole, but the crane is a deployable trailer. We have a deployable trailer now that's a big, I don't even know how big, like 2-ton trailer or something that's full with batteries and a crane on it that we put tracking cameras on top of that and stuff. Pretty massive upgrade. If those of you that are Patreon supporters, I think we even showed it on Twitter as well. It's pretty legitimate. Like, it's awesome, actually. I was thinking this whole time that the stream was actually at 1080, honestly. HL fan. Do satellites also have booster by which they can change their trajectory, or can they use them to crash themselves on Nemo Island? So satellites most bigger satellites especially do have some propulsion. They have thrusters that will help orient and station keep, and sometimes do, like especially larger geostationary orbits. The launch provider will usually just get them out to the height of that, but not circularized. So that means the satellite itself has to do its circularization burn in order to put it into geostationary orbit or geosynchronous orbit. And so yeah, they and that's typically the lifespan of the satellite, is how long can that propellant last? Because it does tiny bits of station keeping every now and then. Even if you reduce your movement down to like the tiniest bit of movement, it still will take a correction every now and then. So yeah, they do have that, but and also, I'm trying to think of what I was going to say. Can they crash it into a specific spot? Yes and no. They lots of times try to deorbit low Earth orbit satellites at a specific place, so they have controlled reentries, or not necessarily a specific place, but let's see. Yes, Dutch Universe. Again, yes, we will be there for the second launch of Starship. We already have everything all pretty much set up. Putting the finishing touches on stuff this weekend and early next week. We always use those extra days. Extra days are always a good thing, but we are closing out on an incredible amount of stuff. I'm feeling really, really, really good about it. So can't wait. We will have awesome 4K coverage, really good sound. Pay attention to our sound. Pay attention to how good our video feeds look, because it will be amazing. I'm very confident of that. Stand by for the Astro Awards as well. We will talk about the Astro Awards at the Starship launch. We will do an official announcement. Here we go, back to the views. Oh man, they're coming up on a ground tracking station, hopefully. And yes, this is a Sun-synchronous orbit, so it's going over the poles. Let's see. How do satellites orient themselves using GPS? That's actually a good question. It's a lot of them will use star trackers. They actually look at the stars and navigate using the stars. They also will use their references to ground tracking stations to orient themselves. They can use GPS for certain regimes in certain areas. You can use GPS. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that they measure an exact trajectory. And the important thing is really you only need 2 points of data. You need to know the speed of a vehicle, an object, actually. That's all you need to know. So speed means direction and velocity. Assuming you know that the speed of any object, you can calculate exactly where it will go because it is space. So yeah. How's it going, Chazzy Mac? Let's see. Could we realistically get a successful Starship orbit, re-entry, and splashdown before 2025? Are we considering what the next launch is as an orbit? It's darn close. It's so it's just frustrating, like from a content creator standpoint, to like have to define it for people because it is like it is and it isn't. Yeah, it's. I think we'll definitely see. I think by 2025 we should definitely see, hopefully even a catch attempt of the booster, and hopefully an actual landing attempt of Starship. I don't know if it'll be, just an ocean landing or whatever at first, but I hope that this next one goes really well and they start for doing more ambitious things with the next one. That would be awesome. Let's see. Awesome. Thanks for saying hi, Galactic Jack. Could SpaceX provide a GPS alternative with Starlink? I don't know. That's a good question. Why does stuff get deleted? Nightbot is too crazy. I'm sorry to see that your comment got deleted. Nightbot sometimes goes too crazy. Will any of Starship test flight or re-entry be visible from the Gulf Coast of Alabama? Good question. I think there's a chance that you might be able to see the booster. If you knew exactly where to look. We can do this in Flight Club. FlightClub.io will tell you exactly what's visible. It might be below the horizon, though. But if you knew exactly where to look at the right time, you might be able to see a little bit of it, like, right on the horizon. But that's pretty far away. That is pretty far away.
Confirmed.
So many CubeSats.
Block 4Q19, separation confirmed. Block 4Q20, separation confirmed. Block 4Q21, separation confirmed.
So many. There's like 90 of these.
Block 4Q22, separation confirmed.
Joshua Neiman, good question. Which mission did they do a single engine entry burn and a 3-engine landing burn? Man, they played around with some stuff way back in the day, like some of the early Starlink missions. And before that even, they were doing like 131 burns. I don't remember one where they did a single engine entry burn. Actually, I do recall seeing that. That was only a few months ago I feel like they did that. I don't know if Trevor's still around and remembers, or someone in our Discord remembers which mission did a single engine entry burn. That's a little bit more unusual because it's less efficient. Drone Shot Bulgaria wants to know, do I know when will the first launch be after New Year? I don't. Very subject to change, especially with SpaceX being so prolific these days. It'll probably be odds are it'll be a Starlink mission. When do I think the first night launch of Starship will be? Folks along the Gulf Coast want to know. I think it'll be a while before it's night launch because they want to launch during the day for these early missions so they get good tracking assets and good tracking data, visual data of anything that could have gone wrong. I don't think it'll launch at night for a little bit because of that. I think that's a pretty big reason. But well, we have binaural mics, so like 360-degree mics for IFT2. Yep, absolutely. Cosmic Perspective. Andrew Keating has developed this incredible rig for incredible 360-degree audio recordings. He is an engineer mastermind, an audio engineer master. So it's his stuff is just incredible. So yes, we through Cosmic Perspective and through Andrew Keating will have 360-degree, binaural mics. They're gonna be great. Now you can see them starting to. They're pretty close there. The binaural audio won't be live during the stream but we will have it. Cosmic Perspective does some 360 VR footage. That's or 180 VR, maybe some 360 as well that they may or may not be able to bring or like have on site too. So, and so they'll post afterwards, and that'll have that good headphone audio. There, at least the head tracking 360 degree audio. We will have good stereo audio though. We will have very good stereo audio. Let's see. From Garen wants to know, is there a delay with Starship? I mean, yes and no. Like, I don't know. How do you delay something that isn't delayable? I don't know. Like, it'll happen when it happens. It's currently saying net November 17th. I won't be surprised if that moves into the next week, November 20th. But it's getting closer. SpaceX, obviously, we're seeing a lot more permits on the table. We're seeing almost everything. You know, the FAA launch license is basically in hand, but they need the final sign of approval and seal of approval from the Fish and Wildlife Services in order to be able to actually act upon that launch license. So, yeah. Let's see. Any other questions, guys? I'm thinking I'm gonna get out of here. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm trying to do today, so yeah. And stand by. We got. I like to keep you guys in the dark on some of the projects that we're working on, and let me tell you, we are working on some incredible things. Again, I've kind of been teasing the Astro Awards. We hopefully will have that all available publicly in about a week. So it'll be awesome. And I can't wait for you guys to learn all about that and also to learn about some of the things that we're working on behind the scenes for other things. Lots of fun stuff. So thank you guys for tuning in with me today, guys. I'm sure we'll get confirmation that everything went well, hopefully, with all the deployments. And yeah, thanks for watching with me. It's fun. I miss doing live streams like this. It's always a lot of fun. If you guys do want access, we'll hopefully be doing a Kerbal stream here today or tomorrow, trying to kind of get all the numbers on a certain thing we're trying to solve in Realism Overhaul for a video script that I'm hoping to shoot and get starting to edit before IFT2. And of course, remember, we do ship worldwide. Yes, I was going to say, check out our merch store, everydayastronaut.com/shop. And this is we'll do one more from Andy. Please send a shout out to my 9-year-old son, James, who is a huge space fan. Looking forward to watch your stream of a second Starship launch. Well, Andy, thank you for saying hi, and to James, thank you so much for watching. Seriously, it's awesome. I wouldn't be doing this if you guys weren't sitting there watching, hanging out, and hopefully learning something. That's definitely the fun of it, is the learning process, because these things are pretty cool. Obviously, I think rockets are awesome. And they're quite complicated, but it's really fun when you do learn along the way. So stay tuned. I will be streaming for you guys Starship's second launch. I hope to see you guys in the chat as well. If I see you and I catch you and I'll say hi. Hopefully you guys are excited for that one. So that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And again, I think the next stream I'll probably do is probably IFT2. We'll probably do a Q&A like the day before. And then we'll get our stream going nice and early so you guys can enjoy our 4K views as soon as they're ready. And hopefully you guys are ready for that. Congrats, SpaceX, and to all of the 113 payloads on board. Pretty amazing. They're still being deployed. All right, so yeah, they're basically saying that during that blackout phase with the ground tracking, they had more be confirmed. So everything's looking good. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space on Earth for everyday people. Goodbye, everybody.